Hi everyone. In part one, Ekta shared the Recast story from a leadership perspective in terms of the character of the company, the trust they have built over years, and what made this engagement really special. In this part of the video, I'm going to take you inside the actual approach in terms of how we did the pre work, how we ran these discovery workshops, and how we moved from a complex set of inputs to a clear, very executable AI product roadmap for our clients in just 3 weeks. So, Recast came to us at a really interesting moment. Like Ikta mentioned, this is a company that has earned deep trust in the endpoint management space. Their customers are sysadmins, people who are very naturally skeptical of hype. So, the ask was never about bolting on AI just for the sake of it. It was actually much more considered than that. What they needed was a clear AI strategy for product differentiation, understanding where AI could strengthen their product suites and create customer value, and more crucially, where it needed proper guardrails. They were also closely aligned with a hyperscaler and wanted us to create a very considered view of that partnership because for this to land, it had to do four things. Number one, earn the buy in of the engineering teams. Secondly, align with the business on where the value actually sat and be grounded in an honest assessment of the data underneath it, what was ready and what was not. And finally, ensure there were the right governance frameworks in place to enable all of this. This is where we do things quite differently. We did a lot of heavy lifting before the first workshop even began. We started by engaging the leadership to understand their North Star vision. They shared their QBR data with us in confidence, which gave us a very clear picture of the commercial realities, the retention challenges, competitive pressure from Microsoft Copilot entering the space. That became a strategic anchor for both the short term and longer term vision. From there, we ran about 50 hours of pre engagement research using our AI advisory accelerators. SynaptyX has built their own proprietary AI accelerators to be able to perform such engagements in an accelerated and a much more effective way, which comes with the advisory experience we have built over decades of helping clients with their transformation needs. We mapped out the competitive landscape across key AI capability areas. And from that, we built a broad set of AI themes, very much tailored to Recast product suites. Think of it as a petri dish of use cases that we could pressure test with their teams rather than walking in with a blank slate. We also sent pre-work questionnaires to the CXO group. So by the time workshops kicked off, we already knew where the appetite was, where the concerns really sat, and which areas leadership felt had the strongest opportunity. That is what enabled us to hit the ground running from day one. We ran about 2 weeks of stakeholder immersion, 20 plus hours of live discovery across executive connects, workshops, product demos, and governance and data sessions. But the key was how we built it, layer by layer, driven by four things primarily. Number one, the executive mandate, what leadership needed AI to do for the business. Secondly, recast North Star vision over the next 2 years. Number three, the competitor landscape and what would really give Recast an advantage per se. And finally, the inputs from our peer engagement research, which included the AI themes, the scoring frameworks, and the CXO questionnaire responses that we collated at the very start. We started with the C suite to lock in the strategic mandate. And one of the most important signals came out early on. Recast differentiation was not going to be speed or flashy features, it was about trust, guardrails, and the ability to undo. The phrase that really stuck with us was breaks over speed. That became the filter for every recommendation we made. From there, we moved to sales and customer success to understand the market pulse, and then into product and engineering, suite by suite, to understand the products, the data realities, and where the real opportunities sat. Having those four pillars meant every workshop was very focused, results driven, rather than multiple meandering discussions. What really made this fast was how our AI advisory accelerators consumed those inputs layer by layer. The competitive research fed into the first layer, executive mandates fed into the next. We also shared structured scoring tools with each product and engineering team, and that scoring fed into the layer after that. Each layer was actually built on the previous one, so the entire process was dictated by what came out of each workshop rather than a generic template. That is what enabled us to stay grounded and be better prepared for every next conversation we had. Because every workshop was driven by those same four pillars, the conversation stayed really anchored. Whether we were talking to the VP of engineering about the stickiest feature or to a sales lead about conversion challenges. And most importantly, we made real space for the skeptics. Their pushback was not a problem, it was a signal, rather, I would say. It shaped our risk assessments and made the final recommendations even more credible at the ground level because the concerns were already baked in. Once the discovery was complete, we moved quickly into synthesis using those same layered accelerators. We evaluated the use cases across five key dimensions: impact, feasibility, data readiness, time to value, and competitive defensibility. That produced our prioritization scatter plots, impact versus feasibility, impact versus data readiness, and so on. So the prioritization was very clear and grounded rather than opinion led. The readout was designed to equip Recast with everything they needed to make decisions and move forward. The deliverables included three parts. Number one, six prioritized AI use cases across the two product suites they had, each with a full SWOT analysis supporting business case, competitive positioning, built by partner recommendations, and very clearly outlined data readiness gaps with the effort they needed to take in each space, informing their data strategy. Number two, a governance model with an AI Center of Excellence framework. And finally, number three, a talent and change management plan to bring the organization along. We then also had a full session with the wider group to walk through the readout and address any questions in the room. Because the real goal of our advisory engagement was not just to hand over a deck, but to also explain to the larger team our thinking process behind it, answer the why questions in the hope of easing the change management that AI adoption was bound to bring. It is to leave the business as something which they can actually move forward with. I think the client summed it up the best when they described the work as disciplined, transparent, and business first, and said the final output was high quality, clear, and thoroughly documented with an executable roadmap. For me, that is exactly what a good advisory work should actually do. Thank you for listening in and for your attention.